Thank you for calling machine.com.
This is Mikey with Machini.com, part of that FAR network. Yep, that fashion, automotive, and real estate group. And we're taking our first look at the Aston Martin DBX, right? They made the release last year in the December timeframe, and it was the talk of the town due to the rest of the SUVs that had been released. You know, we're talking about the Lamborghini Urus, right, for one. And you could also add in there the Cullinan from big car makers such as Rolls-Royce, and then the Bentley Bentayga, right? They were all coming out with SUVs, and people were getting scary because it was getting saturated. But Aston Martin decided to come to the table, and the reason why everyone kind of knows now from an automotive enthusiast perspective, they need to make money. And sorry, two-door coupes are not going to make you money. You either need a four-door or something, and right now the four-door or something has to sit higher, and it's an SUV craze everywhere. So now they come out with this, and it is a beautiful release from a design perspective, and we're going to go over some of the details. But to highlight, this car weighs in about 2,245 kilograms. Remember, the English make it, so they're going to use that metric system. That comes around in or out, 4,800 pounds, around there. It's light for the SUV category. So it is not a car that is heavy from an SUV perspective and what it competes against, and we'll get into that in a second. But it's still heavy. And Aston Martins are not necessarily known as the most, I would say, sporty vehicles from a performance numbers perspective. However, when it comes to sporty feel and GT feel, Aston Martin definitely is near the top. What it comes with, when you look at the engine, we're going to get into the statistics here. It comes in with the 4-liter twin-turbo V8 from Mercedes-Benz. The output, is 550 horsepower with around 500 foot-pounds of torque, 516 foot-pounds of torque. So what that means is there's power there. That AMG engine is, of course, used across the board at AMG. They tune it a little bit differently. I think there's a little bit different turbos in the top-of-line models, such as the AMG GT4matic S, right? That guy has over 600 horsepower. We're going to get into my disappointment there. And then we're going to have a 9-speed automatic that's geared with that. There's some unique treatments to this to make this special. The car also has the ability to tow about 2.7 tons, which is what you want from your SUV, and hence why they went with a normal 9-speed automatic instead of a dual clutch. Okay, and then they also brought to the table something a little bit different when you come in the realms of the rear wheel suspension guidance. Okay, when we're talking about that aerodynamics, I'm not going to go there. I'm going to go to the suspension. This is how the driving dynamics come about. It comes with the all-wheel drive system. It also has an adaptive triple volume air suspension. Again, back to Aston Martin and what they're focused in. They're focused in on basically GT performance. Okay, you're gonna have a fruitful Grey Poupon experience in your glassed suit, right? But you're also gonna be able to at times have a little fun, uncup your top buttons in your beautiful dress shirt and hang out and let that rear wheel go. And we're gonna talk about the rear end go, as I mentioned, what's happening in the back of the car when you talk about the suspension. It does have an independent rear. That's kind of weird for an SUV, but they give it that, right? 100% of the power can be transferred to the rear wheel. So that's interesting. The torque is between 47 front and 53 rear, with nearly 100% of the torque being sent to the rear axle if required. That is a huge footprint and something different from the SUV. So I talked about one of the more fun experiences, all-around experiences come from Aston Martin, and that's where it comes into play, right? When you get 40%, 47% in the front, 53% rear, your rear bias, first of all. Then, if you're powering it out and you want to have all the boatloads of fun, you're going to get about 100% to the rear, And that means, yes, this car should be able to slide, all right? You're going to be able to drift the car just a little bit. I don't want to make that statement, but it is what it is. The gift of this car is the off-road treatment that you get with the active anti-roll control system. This is what enables the car to feel smaller than it is, right? Those are the important factors when you talk about getting a dual experience from an SUV and a little bit of sports car experience. You need some systems to play games with your head, and the 48-volt electronic anti-roll control system ensures that you're going to have fun either going through a track or some tight corners, tight bends up in the hills in the countryside, where I think most of the damage will be done with this car. Okay, now when we talk about top speed, all right, let's get into the figures. We went into the driving dynamics. I'm going to go deeper into that. I'm going to go move around a little bit between those two. 0 to 60s in 4.5 seconds, all right? They sourced an AMG engine, okay? So for me, when I see you source an AMG engine, I would think that you would take the opportunity to at least, right, and from the sense of a matter, at least go hard and request that Mercedes-Benz, and I bet they said no. Mercedes-Benz, hey, we really do need you to bring to the table the AMG GT 4MATIC engine in this SUV, because when you release it, you want it to be the best thing smoking. You want it to be the best thing out there. I don't see why. That's my first disappointment. They did not offer the full-out 4-liter. I know Mercedes heard there's a cannibalization with the Vantage and the GT, AMG GT. However, this, I don't know, right? I think the GLE is a different realm, even though they may share some type of features being an SUV. I think this is another level up, and I don't think the GLS is here either. It's too big of an SUV. So it's kind of on its own island. So I don't see why they didn't offer that. Let's keep going deeper. They then offer the Pirelli P0s. It's big in Europe to offer the P0s. I'm assuming there's something there, right? There's some relationship that P0 has with the automakers to allow for them to continue to use them, because Michelin's my favorite. Now, when we talk about top speed, 181 miles per hour, that's another strike, right? I already talked about 550 horsepower, 560 odd foot-pounds of torque, somewhere around there. You know, they mess around with it with the turbos. And I just think that the power output mixed with the tire is sending a message that, hey, you have it, but don't expect this to kill the Urus. So the Urus for me is out of the question versus this car. When you talk about sportability, there's no way. They're not competing against each other. I'm leaving it alone. I'm not even going to look at it in that sense. Let's continue on and actually look at what this is competing against. All right. If you want a tiny bit of Urus, but you don't want a Cullinan, all right, that's where I think this car is going. I think this car is aiming at the Bentley Bentayga directly, right? It's British brother. And when you talk about, the ESC stability control systems and the air rides and things that I just mentioned, that tells me, guess what? This is going to be a little bit more sporty. Aston has done this before. Remember the Bentley GT? It looks like they're going directly against Bentley. Bentley GT versus the DBS Superleggera, and some may say that's too far up. So let's go Bentley GT versus the DBS 11. DBS, not DBS. That's exactly wrong. What's the one underneath the one that the DBS Superleggera is based off of? Essentially, it's going against the mid-range model of Aston Martin coupes. It's out of my head right now because I keep thinking about that beautiful Superleggera. But and really, the Aston always came about as the more sporty, but gave you the same type of luxury. Same deal here, right? Ride height technology. We talked a little bit about the air ride suspension, the gear ratio. And the other big thing that really stuck out to me when I looked at the specifications, there is no ceramic brake system. All the auto guys are talking about this. It's not meant to be, right? They're telling you it's not meant to be a track car. You can take it there, but it's not meant to be a track car. Even though the statement here, our on-track and on-road performance has seen us push the boundaries of what is possible in an SUV. all these things tell me this is going to be the more sporty of the group. It doesn't have the rear wheel steer. That's another, I don't know why he didn't offer that. But I guess that leads into this is probably going to be one of the most fun dual purpose SUVs out there. All right, now as we move on to the body structure, they try to make it lightweight. What contributes to that is the aluminum body structure. Okay, cabins using obviously beautiful lightweight materials, carbon fiber, a one-piece prop shaft. That's huge, right? They highlight it right here, using sports car, and a wide range of safety features. So Aston Martin is again showing out where they need to show out, and saying, hey, this is going to be your all-purpose top of the line vehicle that you can get. Cullinan, get out my way, and Bentley Bentayga as well. I want to go back to the design as you look at the video to the right. I just like this monitor green. There was a silver that I saw today that looked ridiculous. But exterior wise, for me, I'm a subdued type of guy. I like to be low key. This would be a perfect car for me. I'm not a Bentayga type of guy. I wish they had the Bentayga performance. But if you're that type of guy, I don't want to say introvert, but yeah, introvert. This would check all the boxes for you. Full panoramic roof offered. Space-wise, if lo and behold, Range Rover, watch out. It's the same size as a Range Rover, right? So I talked about the SUVs. I didn't mention the Range Rover. It's a little bit old in the tooth, even though it still looks great. That may be another competitor, right? When we talk about the SV autobiography. That may be the next competitor, right? So we talked about Cullinan, we talked about Bentayga, and now we talk about Range Rover. I don't think the GLS is in that range, right? I don't think the X7M Alpine XB7 is what they call it, is in that range. Even though you could put it there, they're just a little bit different, more Escalade type of 7-seaters, and this is a 5-seater. So that's why I didn't put it in that range. All right. Interior wise, Aston Martin always pushes the boundaries. Let's see if we can get something there that shows. We just start looking at the stitching on this thing. It's freaking ridiculous. Look at this. Again, cup areas to put your cup holders. Nice car-like interior. I'm going to stop it right here. As you can see, the interior is very car-like, and I like that setting. Again, they're trying to show the dual-purpose ability of this truck, and that's amazing. When we continue on, stitching and different the gear selections up top right here in the center console. And then you can see how they highlight luxury grain leather sourced from Bridge of Wear leather. Maybe some propaganda, but Aston Martin is no joke in the interior seating. Okay, am I talking about electronics? Seating wise, they're top of the line, and I don't mind that. That gear selector up top, electronically pushing a button up there. I don't know, but hey, it's there. They're making it work. That was some Ford treatment a little bit. I don't like that, right? And they still have that relationship. You can see the beautiful wood grain, the sound system. And let's see what here. Let's go into, again, the electronic boot in the back. 40, 20, 40. That means you can fold the rear seats back. You need that in an SUV. And a hidden storage package underneath the boot floor, where you put the usually where your tire goes. 62 liters of space underneath there. Two wheel designs, all right? 22 inches in diameter. 22 inches. You would think that's a rough ride, but we talked about the suspension, so a lot of things there come into play to make up for having those big wheels, which should hurt you a lot going over bumps. All right, so at the end of the day, with the beautiful stitching inside, obviously exotic materials are what they're gonna really push for. I really like what I see from an interior perspective, and the exterior. When I look at the cut lines on this, look at that treatment right there. I love that in Jaguar. I love English cars, by the way. I think this is great. It's not showing in this color. I do like the rear that is showing that Vantage treatment, and then obviously the deck spoiler on the top of the hood. Of the rear bonnet. I think that is really cool. Be advised, when you look at this, the rain features here, there's no wiper, right? You're saying, hey, where's the wiper? They made it aerodynamically designed so that the rain just flows off of this thing. So that's why you're not seeing a wiper behind it. All right, so that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Front and back wise, you can see the back, two tailpipes in the back. Again, we'll get a video on per person. There's the Aston Martin right near where I live at. You see the tow package here. I'm not happy. I think a lot of people have discussed this. I'm not happy with this, right? The exhaust system there could have done something a little bit better, but it works. it works. It's good enough, but I think I would have liked something better. All right, front end, I love it. This is where you get the big grill, and you deserve it. Aston Martin needs a big grill, and I appreciate that. That is LED treatment, so in the front, so you at least get that. Aston Martin's a little bit behind with the lighting brigade. Matrix lighting would have been interesting, but then again, I'm not going to harp on that. All right, so design-wise, it's beautiful. Continuing on, body structure, we talked about that. The aluminum facade there, right? The powertrain, my disappointment. Why not come out with the most powerful AMG engine? Pay them a little bit more. I don't know what you got to do. And then we went into some of the aerodynamic features a little bit in the suspension section. But now let's get a little bit more deeper on what it's meant to be when you talk about how it can give you a little bit of that top speed and comfortability with stability, as well as some of the trackability. Fixed rear spoiler, right? We looked at it, and then that aesthetic rear grabbed on from the Vantage. And then the new DRL ducts, reduced drag and assist, and we saw some of those coupe-like fixtures here, right? Excuse me, the vents, side vents. Cool. They usually cool the brakes, by the way. But this continuous flow here, because of the way it's situated, helps with the airflow to go down and out. Helps with top speed. That's why this big thing can go 181 miles per hour. Okay. Other features that stood out for me: carbon fiber wheels. They talked about that. I don't think there's much else to discuss here. When you talk about the dynamics and the aerodynamics of this car as far as flow, they mention the CVD, computational fluid dynamics. That's just the analysis the engineers did to optimize the flow of the airflow to make sure that this is going to be snug, comfortable, and stable at high speeds. And they just really go into the detail of that, and they talk about some of the benchmarking they did with the Valkyrie, and then how they did the drag reduction with added some of the vents that I just mentioned. All right, so impressive 181 mile per hour speed. Just imagine if it had that 640 plus horsepower engine from AMG. It would have been freaking nuts. So in all, this is a great release from Aston Martin. Try to give you a little bit more detail into the facts, even though some auto guys may have been better and more succinct, but I wanted to give it to you from the source. This is a little bit more detail on this particular site. LED screens, I messed that up. Okay, interior wise, you get the 10.25 inch screen, and then a 12.3 inch screen. So back to in the interior, just jumping around because I missed it, and there goes the panoramic roof. Ooh, wow. And there you can see the aerodynamic ducts that they were talking about up there. But let's go inside. Do they have a nice one in there? Of course not, right? They're not particularly known for being the best when it comes to showcasing their electronics, because they're behind. But they sourced the Mercedes-Benz system, hence why I didn't go over it too much, which should improve on the past. And this definitely is a better iteration than what was found in the Vantage or the DBS Superleggera, which I think is good, but a disappointment from Aston Martins of old. So again, you get the 10.25 inch. It's essentially the Mercedes system. 10.25 in the middle, and then 12.25 on the corners here. Let's get into the price. American wise, $190,000. That is probably the biggest sticking point, to have that much money involved with this car and to be able to possibly get, well, that's the price of the V8 Bentley Bentayga, but I think the W12 may be there used. I don't know about that price point. It's definitely the sexiest of the SUVs from what I'm seeing here. But when I think about its ability from a driving dynamics performance perspective, it's tough. Space wise, it's class leading. Like I said, it's almost the same size as a Range Rover, so you get that big interior space, big boot, towing package. However, I just do not know about the price point, and I don't know about the horsepower. I think they could have done more. Also, rear wheel steering should have been added. An all great addition to Aston Martin. will hopefully will help them survive. But I think they may need to release, because of the price point. It looks like they couldn't get lower than 190 based upon their production and their costs. They may have to release some type of twin turbo V6 or use some V6 from one of their British brothers to make this work. That's what's going to happen here for it to be able to reach maybe 140, 130,000 price point. There may need to be a V6 release. I know they got their V6 coming out with the twin turbo that will be in the Valkyrie. That will be an amazing engine. I heard over 600 horsepower possibilities there. So maybe they put that in a lower tuned version without as much PSI to get what they want from sales. But in all, first release from Aston Martin of the DBX. I give you a little bit more detail, and you can definitely go on AstonMartin.com. Machini.com also has the article that shows all the details on the DBX. No, I appreciate your time. Auto heads, let's sign off here. Have a good night. I'm out. Peace.